Hey guys, how's everyone doing today? Hopefully you are doing well. So without further ado, let's dive into, is there resentment in your relationship? And I think there's a really good conversation to have, because resentment in a relationship is obviously not a good thing, right? If we resent our partner, especially if we don't tell them, right? If we don't tell them that we're carrying this shit in our backpack, then what's going to happen is this is going to be very heavy. And you probably know exactly what it's like, where you're carrying a lot of weight and then somebody pokes at you. It's easy to explode. So what often happens in relationships is that whenever we're carrying resentment, we haven't healed and resolved that variable in the past, is that it comes up in the present. We could be bickering over, do you want spaghetti or do you want whatever for dinner? And it becomes a really big issue. Not because the issue at hand is difficult to overcome, because I'm carrying that resentment. So what I want to do here is I want us to acknowledge that resentment is not positive, it's not healthy within our relationship. But it takes place, right? Because shit happens. Life happens, and we must move forward, and we learn and we grow and we fall and we get up. So let's look at what can cause resentment within the relationships. And one of the first areas I want us to look at is inequality. When there's not balance in your relationship. So an easy example of that would be, let's say if you're with your partner and you find that the system within the relationship is got this really nasty balance to it, something that you don't really resonate with, you don't feel comfortable with. You find yourself working tirelessly, you're showing up for your partner, you're showing up for them, and then you're not keeping tab, but you think to yourself and you say, when was the last time I was giving an act of kindness? When was the last time I was told, hey, I'm proud of you? And it's difficult for you to remember that. It's really difficult for you to remember that. So then you find yourself in this position of going, well, why? Why is it that my partner doesn't, provide acts of kindness or engages in acts of kindness? And it could be to some sort of variable, but you find yourself at this imbalance, right? This inequality taking place within the relationship. Another example for couples with kids could be that maybe you are taking care of the home, you're working and you're doing all the chores and all the responsibilities, but you find your partner gets home, and then when they get home, they just kind of sit back and lay back and they're done. So then you're kind of looking around and you're like, well, shit, there's dishes to be done. The kids need help with their bedtime story, with their homework. And you just got off work too, but you're doing all of these things. You're doing your due diligence. So then instead of saying something, right, instead of having that really, really tough conversation, which can be very difficult to have, it's just kind of kept under the rug. Or maybe the conversation takes place, right? You both had the conversation, but it doesn't lead anywhere, at least a conflict, argument. And then tomorrow you wake up and you continue to show up in the ways that you show up in the relationship. Your partner continues to show up in the way they show up in the relationship. And then that imbalance just grows, and with it, so does the resentment. Another way the resentment can grow, or another cause for resentment within the relationship, is whenever you feel that you're not heard. You don't feel that you're valued within the relationship. And again, that one can take place where you don't receive that praise. You don't feel that the way that you show up within the relationship is something that your partner sees as worthy. Maybe they say things like, you're supposed to do that. What do you want me to say? That you're doing a good job, that I'm proud of you? And in your mind, you're like, well, hell yeah, that's what I want you to say. But you're not receiving that. So then you start to build this resentment. And maybe you try to communicate with them, but didn't get anywhere. So it starts to build and it starts to build. And the resentment creates like a gap, right? It creates this really big space between you and your partner that allows conflict to be much more difficult to reach a steady place. It makes it more difficult to want to even engage in the conversation with your partner, because the past tells you, hey, the same thing's probably going to happen, so what's the point? So what I want to share with you is that there are many causes of resentment within a relationship, endless. It's important for us to know them. It's important for us to know that, hey, if there's an imbalance in my relationship that can lead to resentment, or if my partner's not seen, if I'm not seen, if I'm not heard, if I'm not valued, that can lead to resentment, right? Just like it's important for us to know that that plant over there is a poison ivy. If I start rubbing my hand all over it, I'm going to get poison ivy, right? It's important to know that. I don't mean to be silly with you, but it's important to know these things. And it's important to know these things so that we are able to acknowledge that they do take place and then learn to have that conversation with our partner. Have that conversation while being able to say, what's the big picture here? The big picture is that we are working to help each other have our best life, live our best life, be the very best version of you, the best version of me, and we do that together. But to do that, we have to have that really tough conversation. The conversation that is going to allow us to go into healing and recovering for some of the challenges that took place in the past that connect to resentment. I hope that you found this video helpful. Just as a fun fact, a lot of the items that we talk about here, I try to create courses around. So if you're a couple and you've got kids and you're struggling in your relationship, there's a course for that. All you got to do is check out the link below in the show notes, and you'll be able to see the courses that are offered. And if you get stuck, just reach out to me. I'll be happy to lead you in the right direction. Take care. Have a beautiful rest of the day.